We cannot sacrifice the needs of the future for the needs of the present. We cannot ignore tragedy in environment, in social, in economic circles in the future just so that we can have it good now. So my name is Adam Jadhav. I'm the research associate for Panchabhuta Conservation Foundation.
So I'm Mangal Shetty. I'm the founder of Panchabhuta Conservation Foundation.
The philosophy of Panchabhuta Conservation Foundation is that people live intertwined with nature and environment and natural resources, and that by engaging with the local community, we think we can help sustain, preserve, and protect natural resources and the people who depend upon them.
ये आपका community और हम भी community में हैं.
We're right now hosting and working with a group of national and international thinkers to come up with what's loosely being called a planning and design and development toolkit.
Being asked to design a toolkit is not a normal approach, because it's very rare that a team of investors or owners or clients has the vision to rethink every norm. And doing this really helps you go in a direction which is absolutely radical and create something truly authentic.
To have speedy and sustainable development, you need a set of guidelines, principles, a kind of a toolkit to work with, a set of manuals, not very cumbersome, not very complicated, but as simple as possible, so that as a community we can follow it. So one of the big intentions of this toolkit is really make some of it open source and share it with the people.
What we've done in trying to develop the toolkit is break down the subject matter into a series of pillars. And those pillars, they're not the pillars of wisdom necessarily, but they're the pillars that maybe will help guide each particular chapter of the development.
But place is interesting because it's more than that. Place is good because it's about identity, and if it's about identity, then yes, that's informed by nature. But it's not nature alone.
Nature. If we're going to construct something, whether it's a composting center for our agricultural programs and our agricultural families, whether it's a ecotourism facility, hotel, resort, or homestay, or any kind of business, anything we're going to construct, we think it should be made with local materials. And so every location is going to have its own set of local materials. And the toolkit is intended to help us think about how widely can we source materials sustainably. But the goal is to have development that actually meets needs, that actually fulfills desires, that actually sustains resources in a holistic, thought-out manner. And that includes inputs from a lot of folks. Again, not just international or national, but regional and local. The Aganashini River estuary is a critically biodiverse region, ecosystem, habitat. We have some of the best mangrove cover in all of Uttar Kannada and among the best probably on the west coast of India. The river itself is one of the last undammed rivers on the west coast of India, which leads to a lot of the wealth, the biological and nutritional wealth of the Western Ghats actually flowing out of the watershed into our estuary. This is a very special place, and so we actually don't see some of the other, we don't see abject poverty here. We don't see vast environmental degradation here. We actually have what we think is a pretty well-preserved ecosystem so far. And I think for a lot of local people, if they can be free of external influences and external threats, a lot of local folks may want to simply conserve and sustain and bolster their lifestyle and livelihood.
What I've noticed amongst all the people I've spoken to is that they're content with their livelihood. I've actually been to places that are much poorer and more desperate. but the people here don't seem to want what they have for their children. So I think that's quite a different matter. So if we could somehow look at what they do already and introduce a bit more knowledge or innovation, a bit of science, and that's what we've been talking about a lot about in the last 2 days with the scientists who come to join the forum as well as the local communities, is that the way they practice, the way they either fish or farm, they've been doing for many, many years, but there are actually quite exciting new ways of doing these, and perhaps that would give their children a bit more pride and a bit more knowledge and excitement for pursuing what they do already in a different way.
The whole community wants to basically move forward into the future in a very optimistic way. So many people are leaving the countryside in India and heading to the cities, and actually it would be great if that could reverse and people would be wanting to come back to the countryside and be closer to nature. And I think that is the sort of basis of this project, but you want to make farming and fishing and being in the countryside so attractive and so meaningful and sustainable to people that actually you'll start a kind of reverse flow.
We are not here to sort of force our agenda on anyone. Yes, we have some ideas about how things could be and maybe should be, and we're going to try and demo some of those, but we're also mostly interested in what local people want out of us, what local people want in general.